portrait of Joe Biden, the auto pen. You're going to get us canceled.
Today? What are we watching?
We're going to react to this video, the biggest scam in auto repair right now.
Hey, Dwayne, what's the most common scam to look out for in an automotive shop?
A shop telling you that they will give you a free diagnosis if you do the repair with them. What they do is they basically roll that diagnostic hour of labor or however many hours into the repair to where you're still paying for it.
It's so valuable.
It's definitely worth it.
It was amazing.
Highly recommend it.
It's really nice.
It's huge and such a stress relief.
It was awesome.
We were able to create a plan. I really like that we did the annual breakdown and broke it down in quarters. That really helped me. I'm not as much math minded, but that helped me a lot.
I have a clear plan on what I'm going to do for 2025. Everything was perfect.
I have 2025 completely laid out for me as a step-by-step. This is what we're doing is unthinkable and unimaginable for me.
I got so many ideas and inspirations that I can't wait to put into place.
You should come. Education is so important, and especially when it's drilled into a very specific topic that is so needed for growth and development, you should come.
You're not going to regret it. You need to come. Yeah, so.
Step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You can only learn what you put yourself out there to learn, and being uncomfortable is something that teaches you. So being able to do it in a group of people like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, really.
It's going to give you all the tools that you need for everything to give you that plan for next year.
Come in the future, do it. Make the time, take the time to make the plan. You'll come back home with so much knowledge, so many things to put towards your business. It's definitely worth it.
110%. This is something that should be on everybody's radar to be able to do, because to be able to, again, just have that game plan for your entire year moving forward of these are the things I know are coming up, this is what I'm planning for, is huge and such a stress relief.
You know, I've learned there's a lot of ways to do business, but I do agree that it's not transparent and it's not exactly honest. And I think it does a couple things for me, like from my frustration point with it. And you know, I know that some of our friends do this. But first of all, for me,
some of your friends do, not my friend.
Mike Allen is your friend, David. Just because y'all give each other mean stares doesn't mean you don't like one another.
There you go.
But long story short, I do think that it sets the incorrect precedent with the consumer. I believe that it kind of creates this world where they expect that and they don't see the value in what testing truly is. And so, yes, it might make a shop really successful right now, but I think the long-term consequence, what it does to the industry, is a negative. And we can say, well, but you know, right now I'm making a lot of money doing that. But long-term, if we really want to make the industry better, I think that it is a problem that will eventually have to be faced, right? The other thing is that I think it causes problems for the technician too. It doesn't just cause problems between the shop and the consumer, or a level of transparency and honesty between the shop and the consumer. I think a lot of this is where you only get 0.5 to diag this comes from. You only get an hour to diag this because we promise our guests we do free diag. And so I just need you to figure it out. And look, man, if it's not something you can figure out in an hour, just ship it out of here. I don't care. We ain't going to make no money on it anyway. And so why do we have this reputation in the automotive industry? It's because of behavior like that. Now, does it make more money? Sure. Absolutely. Because like you're tricking the consumer to come in. They're still paying for it. And unfortunately, now look, I'm going to catch some flack for saying this, but unfortunately what it means is that hour of diag, or that time that we're spending diagging that car, is being split up across everybody that comes in the shop. And when that happens, it means that Mrs. Smith and Mr. Bob are all paying for the same diag on the same car, because the people who it would take 0.25 to deal with this, right? And I'd walk out and I'd say, Bob, hey man, this thing's unplugged. The other shop accidentally left that unplugged. I plugged it back up. You're good to go, man. Right? Guess what? Now everybody's still paying for that time. It's just got divided out across multiple clients. It's got divided out across your labor rate. I don't think it's right. What do you think?
That's the issue, is that you're saying it's free even though it's not. Although what this guy's saying is that they'll do the diag for free if you buy the repair from them, but that 1 hour repair is really 2 hours is what they end up charging, or maybe a higher labor rate, but they're going to recoup the cost of the diag in the repair. So really you end up paying for it. So they're saying it's free, but it's not really free. And these other shops are doing the exact same thing and say they're not rolling it into the repair because you may not actually do the repair there, and there's no cost to it anyway, or there's no charge. So if you don't do the repair with them, then you just leave and it was freezies. But again, it's not really free because they just factor in that cost and spread it across everybody's repair orders. And so all the repairs are slightly higher in price because it's covering everybody's free diag. For sure. Do you think that the consumer, if it was explained to them that way, do you think the consumer would be appreciative of it and say, well, because I'm not being charged up front, and I'm so hesitant to pay for diagnostic testing, I'm okay paying for a slightly higher repair across the board, knowing that whenever I need the car diagnosed, I can come in and it's going to be free every single time?
I think it's very possible they would appreciate that. I'm not willing to argue that they wouldn't. I will tell you that I think the problem is that they're not being told that. It's not being shared with them in that way. It's not been conveyed to them in that way. And so I think if you really break this down and you look at it from the nuts and bolts of it, what is it that we have with our consumer? Why do they come to us? Why would you say consumers, I'll never forget this. We were in Vision, and there was a conversation happening around the bar one night, and there was a shop owner and there was a business coach. And this business coach is sitting there talking to the shop owner, and he's talking about these issues he's got. And he said, hey, why would a consumer come to your shop? They drive past 50 other shops to get to yours. Why would they come to your shop? What do you think the guy said?
He didn't know. I don't know why.
No, he said, because we're the best. And he said, what do you mean you're the best? He said, we fix the cars nobody else can. And he said, you mean to tell me that like fixing the car makes you the best and fixing cars nobody else can fix makes you the best? He said, oh, yeah, of course. He said, you understand that the base level of proficiency, like the base level of expectation from your client is that you're going to fix the car. So the car being fixed is not a differentiator. What makes you the best? Right? And it can't just be that I fixed the car. And it kind of comes back to the same thing for me is like, what is your differentiating factor? And mine is trust. If that consumer, like I have a relationship with these people. These are people that I know. And they trust me to do the right thing. I've spent a lot of time and energy, blood, sweat, and tears to build relationships with these people, or them to build relationships with the business, even if it's not with me personally, to where they can trust me. They know that this team is going to do what's best for them, right? That's what I try to build my business on. Well,
At the same time, though, there's a little bit of marketing in that. Like you're marketing trust. Because somebody who shows up for the very first time, they don't really know whether what you're doing is trustworthy or not. They feel like it is because they read the advertising and they watch the videos and whatever. And they go, well, this seems trustworthy, so I'm going to go with it. Maybe they read the reviews. That's usually what it is. They end up reading the Google reviews and they're like, based on the Google reviews, there's a consensus that they're trustworthy. And so I'm going to give them a shot. And now you might build that over time, but initially it's just they're buying the hype essentially.
For sure. And then we, like you said, we build that, we develop that. But this other model doesn't really look at building trust. What brings them in?
Well, they could be claiming it.
Yeah, right. They could. But I'm just saying, like, what brings them in? The cheap price brings them in. The not having to pay. Now there is another point in this. Is that why would they be looking? You bring up a really interesting thing with what you said a few minutes ago. Why would they be looking for somebody that doesn't charge to diag? Well, because they've been 50 other places that did charge and still didn't fix the effing car. Right? Wouldn't you be frustrated too? Wouldn't you begin to question this? And we talked all weekend. We're just coming back from ASTA, right? And some of the conversations we had this weekend are around a conversation that Brian Pollock and I had, where we're talking about like, hey, a 2024 model car came in with a dead battery, 4 hours later, I figured out how to fix it. It needed a battery, but all of these other ancillary things that occurred because of the systems within the car. His point is how do you take that to all these other shops that aren't at ASTA Expo, that aren't at Vision, that aren't training, that aren't trying to develop? What happens when you take that car there?
I have a bit of a problem though with 4 hours of testing to find out.
No, I'm taking that out of context.
Okay,
It
I hope
needed
so.
a battery, but after the battery, the number of relearns and configurations that had to be gone back through to get the car to work like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Right? Because something happened. It was just a fluke when it died, but it caused other issues with the car.
Brick modules, who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, hold up. This is a battery that died in this car. Was the root cause of this failure. How many cars do we see a week that have dead batteries? And now I've had 2 in my shop that have experienced this same thing, 2024 year model cars that the dealer couldn't fix, that had to come to me to be fixed. Like what are these other shops going to do with that? Then you know the shops I'm talking about.
I don't know. They will probably ship it off. That's what they'll do, because they're going over. They're going after the fat part of the bell curve. You know, the 68% that they can absolutely take care of. In those edge cases, too many shops pride themselves in being able to handle those edge cases. I mean, we do. Like we want to take it on and say that, yeah, we fixed it when nobody else could, but they're not looking at that going, yeah, we want to be quote unquote the best, right? We want to be the place where they go to when nobody else can handle it. That's every shop wants to be that, except for these shops that have the 6 boats and the 15 locations and they're advertising a panel of shop owners that have gone to like 32 locations and are doing $50 million a year, and they're going to be discussing their successes. You know what the success is? We drove revenue with cheap incentives up front. Yep. We loaded the cars up into the shop. We turned the bays as fast as possible. If you couldn't keep up, we fired you. And we only dealt with the 68%. Because the edge cases, the ones that are just extremely difficult that we can't deal with, we ship them off. We don't have time to dick around with a 4-hour battery install. We will put the battery in and then ship the mother effer off to the dealership to go get reprogrammed, or to another shop, or call in a remote guy to come in and deal with the rest of it, because we need to turn that bay. That bay's got to get flipped. And then that's all that matters. There you go. I just gave you the whole panel. Congratulations. You don't have to sit through the whole thing. That's what it is. And what ends up, and what they'll argue, and they have a point. What they'll argue is that too many shop owners allow their egos to take over their business sense, because what'll make more money? Doing the 68%, doing those tires and struts and ball joints and bearings and brakes and the occasional gasket and some belts and stuff like that. That's what's going to make you money. And fishing for a 4-hour diag on a battery, or finding out that it needs a battery, but then going back and fixing the mess that the battery created, it may not make you the money. Yep, because not only are you having to charge,
just labor and testing, right? And
it's labor and testing, but then that labor rate has to factor in your parts cost, right? Your parts profit, I should say. And so, yeah, I mean, you're going to be charging, I don't know, 2.5 times your labor rate in order to make up for that. And so that whole 4 hours where you could have sold some brakes, bolts, a couple of flushes, and had that car turned out in an hour. That car would have been in an hour and made the same amount of money that other vehicle sat in your bay for 4 hours. Same amount of money, because you charged appropriately for those 4 hours. But you were able to turn that one bay in an hour and then flip it and grab another car. And so you're going to make exponentially more money dicking with the easier stuff. And so that's all these shops are looking for.
But do you think that the nature of that is short-sighted? 4 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know. I don't have the
in 7 years, I think the reckoning will come.
Right. In other words, we'll
eventually
reach a turning point where the number of things you can do on that car is limited. And as that number goes down, right, what's going to happen? Well, now that market becomes more competitive. I can sell tires. I can sell brakes. I can do steering and suspension.
So it won't even be brakes anymore, dude.
Yeah.
Like brakes are getting too complicated.
Braking and better quality brake parts. And
it's not even that. Like you think automatic braking, electronic braking control, like having to have a scan tool just to do a brake flush, having to have a scan tool to like deactivate whatever nonsense in order for you to just be able to push the caliper back in and not blow up the master cylinder, which has a module attached to it, is $2,500 or whatever. Like some of the simple jobs that you relied on to make money for years. What's that?
window switches having to be programmed.
I mean, that's always been the case, but like,
I'm not talking about initialized. I'm talking about window switches that are actual modules that have to be flashed to the car.
Yeah. And yeah, 100%. And they might look into like the wraps, those boxes that you can just hook up and then hit a couple buttons and it'll just like whatever. And there's a million companies that are coming out trying to cater to those shops in particular, going, hey, this is going to get more complicated. And that 68% is going to keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And what you are seeing right now as an edge case is not going to be an edge case anymore. So let us help you by putting in these boxes that allow you to have completely incompetent technicians. And, you know, I say that almost tongue in cheek, but completely incompetent technicians that can just bolt in, bolt out, bolt in, bolt out. That's it. And turn them into and turn that job profitable, because all they have to do is hook up a battery maintainer to it, hook up this box, and we'll handle the rest. I don't know if that's going to be enough. I don't know if that's going to be enough. You think about the time constraint on these technicians. They are so constrained on how fast they turn that bay, because what's the demand? It's not 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 plus, right? So how much time do they have to research? And what do you have to do now before you do anything to a car? Like, you have to stop and you got to look through service information. So it's 15, 20 minutes of bay time. How much is that going to cost? 15 to 20 in a shop, in a high volume shop. In a shop like look at Jay Huh. In his shop, how much is 15 minutes worth? And so now that technician's got to sit there and go through 15 minutes plus, and that's it if they're proficient. They know where to look for the information. They've seen this car before. They know that if I go to this place, this place, this place, I'm going to be able to make sure that I'm not going to blow something up just by touching it. Or I'll know that I can actually do this job here at the shop and it doesn't need to be shipped off. They're not going to have those 15, 20 minutes. So what are they going to do?
Yeah. Yep. I'm just telling you that I think long term, it's a mess, right? And I don't know that there is a solution to fix it. And
the solution isn't to advertise free diag. That's for damn sure. You're just kicking the can down the road, but you're sort of making free diag right now is the 1999 oil change of 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Think about this. When we go and we're marketing our shops and we're gaining reputation in our shop, what are we doing? We're collecting. Right? We're collecting people and jobs like that. You get a reputation for fixing everything. Guess what? You're going to be working on everything. You get a reputation for fixing very complex problems, very tough problems nobody else can fix. In town, what do they say? Hey, take it over there to Bob. Bob can fix anything. You get a reputation for being cheap. Hey, Sam over there, Sam's the cheapest in town. And so what do you get? You start collecting more and more of that. And I just think that, I'm somebody who collected very complex, very difficult diesel diag work. And then I decided, not everybody can do what I can do. Not everybody, not me personally, but it's very difficult to find somebody who has the diagnostic reasoning process down pat to the point that any problem that comes through the door you can solve. That's hard, right? Even really great technicians aren't necessarily always there. Well, in the same respect, if I went out and all I did was quick, fast, easy, service work like that, that's what I would eventually attract. When we started trying to sell more tires, guess what? Yeah, we got some tires in, but it's a lot of work to gain the volume that one of these tire stores over here would have, to have the reputation for selling tires and for people to know that you sold tires. And I just think that we begin to build our businesses up and we collect that type of client. But the problem then becomes what happens when the market shifts. right? You look at Becky Witt. Becky Witt works on what? Toyota and Lexus? Maybe Honda?
I think Honda too.
And that's pretty much it. Doesn't work on anything else. She doesn't have anything else in her shop. She's very, very specialized. People know her, and they take those cars to her because she's really good at those cars. That's the
She
extent
works
of
3
it.
days a week.
Yeah, 3 days a week, makes a metric ton of money doing it. But she's funneled those cars to her shop. I'm just saying, what if there's a market shift? And so this free diag model, what if the market shift is extremely complex automobiles that get you to the point there is such limited service work and you've not trained your people and you've not developed your people to be able to service the automobile? Now what? Well, I have to further narrow down to smaller, lighter maintenance work.
That is exactly that's it right there. That's the nail in the coffin right there. If you don't account for the shift moving towards diag heavy repair, like now the moneymaker may not be the brakes and the ball joints and the yada yada yada. The money is now, hey, this complex network is down. How can I diagnose it? And I'm charging $500, $600, $700 an hour, and I'm paying a technician a ton of money to sit there and diag this for 3 or 4 hours, and the bill's $2,800, and we found the broken wire. It was underneath the seat. But now it's fixed, and guess what? Now your lights work, and your dash works, and your radio works, and the car starts, and you know what I'm saying? And all of that was caused by this tiny broken wire underneath the seat. And you are giving that away, where I built my business around that to be able to charge $2,800. You're giving it away. You realize that you can't even diagnose it. So you're just looking at it going, we can't, 45 minutes in, you can't deal with it. But now more and more of those cars are coming in, and now you're having to go, what did we do?
What percentage of this do you think is driven by venture capital and private equity? That mindset. What do you think? So here's where I'm going with that. Hear me out. All of these people teaching this model have long been saying, we want to get a bunch of shops together. We wanted to do the REIT thing. We want to put these shops in a group. And because we have this many shops in the group, then we'll be able to sell everything. Everybody make a lot of money because venture capital and private equity want to buy big conglomerates that make money, that are proven to make money. So if there's a group of us, we're worth a whole lot more money. And so if we can combine forces and do this, we'll be worth more, right? And so what does venture capital and private equity want to buy? They want to buy something that's sustainable and it'll do its thing. They don't want to buy, listen, like you take 5 years ago, if you would have taken me out of this shop would have absolutely crumbled and fallen apart. And it's not because I'm some great technician. It's that I had made my position in the shop the guy who handled all the diag problems. There was nobody else in place to do that. There's nobody in the surrounding area that you could go hire, that you could just drop in and understand and learn my system and do what I did and create a consistent experience for the client, right? So is it possible that private equity and venture capital are saying, hey, listen, we want to buy shops that do maintenance work, light, easy stuff that we could easily hire to do, but don't give us shops that are real complex and doing all this hard diag work that if one person's not there or we can't find somebody to do that, the profit comes crashing down, the reputation comes crashing down. Give us shops that are doing light, easy maintenance work. And so these coaches go out and they're like, hey, let's get all of our light, easy maintenance work going. Let's pump this up without ever truly sharing why they're doing it, right?
The problem, though, that the private equity firms may not realize that all they're doing is buying up blockbusters.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Netflix is on the horizon. Like Netflix is already out, and Netflix is shipping DVDs, but they're too busy snatching up money-making blockbusters, and they're like, we're going to make a ton of money on these blockbusters. And these coaching companies are building blockbusters. They're going to you, let's turn you into a blockbuster. It's going to be great. We're going to make so much money. And then one day, those blockbusters are going to be like,
baby.
and Netflix is all of a sudden the biggest thing. And who's the person at the end of the line is going to be held stuck holding the bag because, like, hey, I didn't get out fast enough. That was it. I didn't get snatched up. Now I've built a blockbuster and nobody's coming in. What do you do then?
Yep.
I don't know.
Exactly. And you remember that video? I think I sent it to you. Mom had gotten a brand new camcorder, and she goes out, and her son's coming in. It was his first day as a Blockbuster manager, and she said, "I'm so excited! All these things you could do. Blockbuster's a big corporation." And he said, "Mom," he said, "there's this thing called the internet, and people are putting videos on the internet. I don't think Blockbuster will be around because everybody's going to be watching videos on the internet in a few years." Right? And it's like, damn, somebody should have asked that kid, right? They would have had it figured out. But I mean, that you're exactly right. Like if we experience that market rotation, those businesses, and listen, it's taught, like private equity and venture capital don't ever get it wrong. And it's like a speculative investment. They're gambling, right?
Yes.
They've got money and they're gambling and they're saying, we're going to take a shot on this. If I can get my 15 or 20%, and even if I just take this money, because they're really smart business people and they know where the profit lies and they're going to stick that profit back. They're selling shares of their business. They're making some dividends. They're making some money. Listen, they make enough money off of it because they're smart and they know what they're doing. They'll just dump the business and it won't matter to them, right? Sooner or later, if it starts losing money, they'll dump it. They don't care.
They'll strip the business down. Yeah, they won't even do that. They'll just strip the business. They'll sell off whatever they can, and then they'll put the real estate up for sale.
Yep.
That's it.
And they'll turn a profit, right?
They'll make their money back.
And, and maybe, who knows, maybe that's what needs to happen to those shops because it'll create a more balanced automotive market, right?
Yeah. The other thing too that they may not be thinking about is that eventually, as that pool of work starts to diminish, you're like you said earlier, it's going to become more competitive. But who are you competing with? Pep Boys, Firestone, Bridgestone, Big O.
Hey, listen.
Those are some big boys. And then
worked with some of them, right? And you know what their numbers look like. And see, that's the thing. I'm having this meeting with this cat the other day, and we've become friends. He sends me messages, asks about a shop, this and that. And he said, "Hey, I'm really trying hard to compete on tires." I'm like, "Bro, you can't compete on tires. You'll never do it." He's like, "I just need to be able to beat Discount Tire." I'm like, "Buddy, if you're beating them, you're losing money, or you're at a 1% margin. They're at a 40% margin." He's like, "Well, there's no way. They're buying them tires for this." Like, listen, dude, they can buy those tires by the container loads. They buy them at the beginning of the year. They already know what size tires they're going to sell. And so they buy those tires up. They're buying them so cheap, you can't touch them, right? You could be upside down and they're still making 30% on them. You don't understand.
And that's all they do. They're turning the bay. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to do this for not making money. They just created more opportunity. They created more buying power to be able to get better prices. If you go and you try and compete with them, you better find somewhere else to compete because you're not going to do it with money. You're not going to do it with price. They will run all over you. There's no way around it.